The best of money matters. Wealth Tracker.
Welcome to the Wealth Tracker, where we dive into the uncharted territories of niche investment strategies that promise to redefine wealth. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. Now, last week, President Donald Trump announced the creation of a strategic crypto reserve for the United States that will include Bitcoin and Ether, as well as XRP, Solana's token, and Cardano's token. But despite an initial rally in the crypto space, that quickly faltered out. In fact, a surprising backlash emerged from some prominent tech and crypto leaders after the president promised to establish a crypto strategic reserve. That's as they were unimpressed with the lack of detail in Trump's brief social media announcement. So would a clearer agenda lead to a crypto rally? Should you remain heavily invested in the crypto space? Well, to find out more, joining me now is Ornella Hernandez, who's a presenter at Moniify Playbook. Ornella, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Hongbin, thanks for having me back. We did say we're going to keep an eye on Trump's moves, so Let's get into the
Let's dive into it. Well, Bitcoin backpeeled last week, as well as earlier this week to start off the week, despite an earlier rise following Trump's proposal for a national strategic reserve of cryptocurrencies. But Ornella, for some context here, what does his proposal entail?
Sure. So there's four main points to keep in mind. The first is that it entails to move any seized Bitcoin by the U.S. government into this reserve. So it's existing Bitcoin. And then the government will stop selling any BTC. And then the U.S. Treasury will be allowed to accumulate more BTC, not necessarily buy it, but somehow accumulate it, as long as it doesn't cost the taxpayer. And fourth, create this more general crypto stockpile with any existing or future seized crypto assets.
Right. Okay. So now this crypto strategic reserve would direct the government to stockpile Bitcoin, Ethereum, and 3 other tokens. So with Bitcoin and Ether at the heart of this reserve, did the coins not rally as much as it should have? I mean, what was the disappointment surrounding Trump's national strategic reserve?
Yeah. So the prices are fluctuating a lot. They went down a lot this week in the past few days. And like you said, the proposal is to stockpile different tokens, as long as they're already existing seized assets. So it is super important to note that the Treasury won't be able to buy more tokens. And that's what investors reacted negatively to. Because I guess the pro-crypto community, I don't know, maybe they were expecting like a more aggressive accumulation buy signal of crypto. And they were disappointed that there were no plans for outright purchases at all.
I see. Well, I mean, there's been surprising backlash as well that emerged from some prominent tech and crypto leaders following the announcement. What is their concern, though? Does this signal that such investors are no longer seeing the Trump hype around cryptocurrencies anymore?
Well, not the hype that they were hoping for, at least. So if investors wanted to hear, like, the U.S. government will start buying Bitcoin nonstop, that didn't happen clearly. So that's why the prices dipped. But, I mean, I personally think that this just reinforces Bitcoin's main use case, which is it's not remittances, it's not tipping, it's not micropayments, but it's actually holding. So the government is basically just holding a lot of their existing crypto. And maybe this just wasn't a big enough or notable announcement to move the market.
I see. Well, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, investors across the board, they are unhappy about the lack of detail in Trump's brief social media announcement about this reserve. What more details do you think are needed for investors kind of to be satisfied with this proposal then?
Well, they definitely want more details on how the government plans to acquire or accumulate crypto without outrightly buying it. And they use the term in a budget-neutral way. So this is a very vague phrase, and it probably just means that they're going to somehow come up with a plan where they don't need to get approval from Congress, which could lead to opposition. So the executive order just reassures that taxpayers, the money won't come from taxpayer money, right? So it allows for accumulation so long as it doesn't add cost to taxpayers. So the thing is that there was no viable strategy. There was just this vague announcement, and they probably just don't have a strategy yet. So that's the details that we're going to be waiting on.
I see. Well, speaking of which, then, could we expect more details in the coming weeks?
I hope so. But like you said, the markets are struggling right now, and crypto reacts to what's going on. So the markets across the board are struggling mainly due to Trump's economic and tariff plans, as well as government layoffs in the U.S. So there's a lot of fear in general right now from the markets, and this is what's impacting crypto. So I don't know if we're going to get more details in the next few weeks in relation to this strategic Bitcoin reserve, but we'll likely see them in the coming months for sure. Hopefully.
Okay, so if we do see, more details and there is a clear agenda, could cryptocurrencies then rally on that clearer agenda?
I believe so. Yeah, I really don't think that the bull run is over yet. We'll see a market rebound in the coming weeks or months.
Okay.
It just, it might take some time. And actually, if we look at the charts from last year, Bitcoin, similar dip, 20-30% dip in January and February, so beginning of the year as well. And then it rallied in March, and then it peaked in Q4. So maybe we'll see the same thing again happen this year. And I think that last week's events, maybe people don't think they were super notable, but it is a big deal for the industry, for a government to do this. So I think we're just kind of waiting on the positive effects, but they'll come.
I see. Well, speaking of which, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, they're seeing a highly volatile environment at the moment. So how should investors then be navigating uncertainty to generate profits here then?
Well, just to remember that because prices are down doesn't mean that the underlying blockchain technology is down. There's still a lot of on-chain activity in the industry. So this means there's mining activity, there's high volumes of crypto payments and transactions, especially on decentralized exchanges, or DEXs as they're called. And there's also a lot of tokenization projects that's going on. So I focus more on how the fundamentals of the overall tech is looking and just keep betting on blockchain's sustained use more so than focusing on just the day-to-day price fluctuations.
I see. Well, on that note, should investors still seek heavy exposure of digital assets and position for long-term growth?
In the long term, I want to say yes, prices are going to fluctuate in the short term, for sure. But in the long term, this move, the U.S. government, it could solidify Bitcoin's more like geopolitical importance, right? So it could push other governments to follow suit. If the U.S. is holding Bitcoin, then others might want to do the same. So I'd look at that perspective as well, because actually Brazil already approved its own Bitcoin reserve. So I feel like now there's like a government race that's on, and investors should position themselves ahead of this. So yeah, if they want to get ahead of the other governments, they should accumulate Bitcoin themselves.
I see. And before we let you go here, Ornella, anything else you'll be looking out for in the coming weeks that could move crypto markets?
Yeah, just keeping an eye on other governments, like I was saying. So maybe how China might respond. I'd also keep an eye on El Salvador, which has been pro-Bitcoin for years now, and they're definitely still buying the dip. So I'd keep my eye on that, and then just see what else happens if we get more details from the strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Ornella, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you, Hongbin. It was fun.
Thank you. That was Ornella Hernandez, who is the presenter at Moniify Playbook. This has been The Wealth Tracker with me, Hongbin Jeong.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance. To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.